TV 电话是当寂寞，不曾看见高声中，TV 电话说着的，找梦到了，嫁给了我。
nhớ rong ít chồng nhật gì cứ tin cha ít chồng dành cho đời sống số tu rong xét giải tỏ nên là cùng bé học bộ mong khó HKM TV nhớ rong hôm nọ bé ít chồng dành cho đời sống số tu xuất xua lú lì tiệt từ thọ bé mù cho tỏ chế bé hợp vật chữ là cho tỏ bé lu church mà bé mù cho tỏ tỏ chế bé chế li mù cùng là xứ bé chính cho cá trả cho thì cho tin nên hoặc là hoặc cho hậu lửa等等呢。mua li trà trâu li trà thế tê hậu lửa là uốn nữa nè chỉnh chỉnh li trà nhua li trà bé một trò chỉ một cổng một bé ở vài chữ giả cả xe lô xứ thì chỉ bé chính cho trà trò thì một ít cho tin nên trong tù là work behind the scene lu li tiền đó bé thế li mua cái bé ở vài chữ một tàu rong cho chua lu li tiền thọ bé một trò tàu bên trên cái bé cho bên trên ít bờ tình nhẹ như mua nhẹ ít ba và là một chọn câu bé hùa cho worship team lấy những là một chọn câu cho bên trên lấy những là một run test system test sound test video đào chán đào giả là một ba đôi có thôi giả kia hậu lửa rong bé chỉ bảo tiền là cho hậu lửa rong đi cha cho đi cha giờ lên đó lu li nó giờ ở lên thì lịch sử cho bé lần đó bé cho sound tech nhớ rồi tỏ bé cho local churches đó là shit thản chỉ cho là để tiền nổ là họ mua phần uo là một ba đôi bên trên cái ram bé cho sound system thì ba đôi ba worship team có là cho tàu go rong chơi đặt chơi rò trâu chọn trình sẽ được số tụm ba sẽ được lúc sẽ luôn chữ trâu và chữ cho lù thì hùng go khỏa bé tụ và chữ giờ lên đó cũng cho bé giờ thì bé sẽ được muốn cho bé tụ khỏa là shit thả tàu cho cái bé run sound system nhớ đầu bé bên trên nhớ rong Peter sư Yengshai Xiong và châu này tỷ lệ cùng bé học bộ mong HKM TV nhớ châu lúc lên đó nó one day chapter nó chỉ tell us who you are and what you do at the local church. What role do you serve at the local church?
Hey, so my name is Peter Yang. I'm up here in Minnesota, up at Hmong American Alliance Church. My role at the church, I'm the worship director. And so I'm responsible for planning worship services and sets, so songs, leading teams, and mentoring and coaching the team here in Minnesota. I also do, as part of worship, we also do sound, and so multitasking, right? So we lead the sound team up here. Yeah.
Appreciate it, Peter. I know you do a lot of work for District 2, so.
Yeah, I do a lot of work for the district. Let's see, how long has it been? Man, it's 24, so 12 years, 13 years that I've been doing sound for Hmong District, for district conferences, youth conferences, played a few different various roles there, leading worship at the conferences. So it's been a fun ride. So.
Okay, so Yengshai, what about you?
Hi, yeah. Cũng biết Yengshai Xiong, the former children pastor do Bunjingya, do Merced, California, Alliance Church of Merced. And afterwards, yeah, tashina kuya tu media director. Yeah, ku handle tando do sound, media, creative. Thea tao yeah ku ba worship team. With regards to lyrics. Music and just kind of how to be present on stage.
Okay, thank you. Sukong.
I'm Kam Yang, and we are the worship pastor at Sacramento Hmong Alliance Church, and so I oversee the worship ministry, Hope Hmong service, English service, and my responsibility is to organize Bitja services, train Bitja personnel, Chihai worship leaders, media, and just train all the positions and make sure we have enough people and people have enough knowledge to to run our services. And so, yeah, that's my job.
And so how about introduce yourself too?
Yeah, well, my name is Jer Vang. I work here at the district. I do media, creative media, IT, a lot of the stuff here. Yeah, I mean, currently I'm at First United Hmong Alliance Church. I don't do sound there, but I do help lead worship. But my main time doing media is at the district conferences and, just doing, live prayers here and such like that. So.
Yeah. What you don't should have told us to call questions because I know the how important do you think sound production is at the local church?
I think it's very important, right? It's everything that we do, the ability for us to produce it well is ultimately gonna help carry the services well, reduce distraction, and allow people to, come to church, come to services, and not be so focused on logistical things related to media and sound, but be able to focus on the intent, right? The message, and be able to worship. And so our ability to do it well helps facilitate those things well.
Yeah, I agree with Peter also. 99% of churches operate with some sort of sound system now. But yeah, whether you're ilu speaker and ilu mic a full 32 plus channel system, and so I believe it's good to have that, and then also to master the quality of the sound that comes out of the system also. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, good sound production is absolutely crucial for the local church. Because it says in Romans 10:17 that faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God. And so a good sound production is not about getting a louder or more powerful sound, but it helps the word of God be heard as clear as possible. And so that then their faith will grow stronger. Or those who have not heard the word, when they hear the word, they will come to have faith in Jesus. And so that should be priority for the word to be heard as clearly as possible. And so you have their struggle with the production of the sound. If it's too loud and there's a lot of distractions going on, there might be possibilities of the word not being heard, and there might be hindrance in the faith as well. And so I think it's absolutely crucial to have good sound production so that the word can be heard and people come to have faith in Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I echo pretty much everyone else. But yeah, it's extremely important because it's the bridge for the gospel to reach the people, whether they're in attendance or online. So I definitely believe it's extremely important aspect to our Sunday services.
So a question I have for you guys is, do you have an annual budget to help you buy all the equipment you need for the sound production at the local church? When you guys purchase all of those equipments at the local church, do you buy them all at once, or do you have to budget a certain amount of money to buy a certain amount of equipment for each year, and then the next year you buy some more? Because we all understand that sound equipment can be very expensive. Do you guys actually have an annual budget on a yearly basis to run sound production at the local church?
Yeah, we do. We have a budget for worship team, which includes sound, and they're also every year I put a budget on projects and proposals for things that we need to either maintain or continue to build out the assets that we have for sound, right? And so it's not necessarily a one-time proposal. Here's everything we're gonna do. It's more thinking strategically on what are the necessities that we have or that we need, and how do we meet those needs, right? So like one year we had a project for wireless mics, right? This coming year we have a project for in-ears, right? We've been wired in-ears. We want to move to wireless in-ears, right? So it can be very expensive if we do everything all at once. So you have to, we understand that we have to be good stewards of our resources also. And so it's okay. How do we balance that with getting the things we need to get things done right and appropriately, and help the teams continue to grow, and help the church be able to, hear the word of God through the things that we do from the sound perspective, right? But at the same time, it's like, how much do we have to sacrifice and deny ourselves too? Because there's a lot of cool stuff out there, right? But it's being conscious about, like, hey, how do we steward our resources well? And then at the same time, how do we balance that with getting the things that we need to be able to do sound well also?
The key word here is need versus want, right? If budget wasn't a limitation, then we get everything in one go, right? Especially for our church personally, we are limited on our budget, and so we do have to kind of pan things out for a few years, and a lot of them are very much necessities. And so we try not to splurge so much, try not to go, try to, we have a list, but, we try to limit ourselves within our own budget. And so right now we're at a very comfortable spot where there isn't much that we need. And so our sound is great, worship is great, and so our budget is not that big, right? And so hopefully next year we can try to budget for iPad, so we can ultimately get rid of paper and do away with all that stuff. So. Yeah.
For us, each year we're given a designated amount to use, a budget for us to use for our worship ministries, our media ministries. And so what we do is we prioritize what we need first. And so if we need something the following year, we'll use our designated budget to purchase those things. And so I like to have a vision, span things out throughout the years if there's not an immediate need, but I know that down the years, we're going to need an upgrade somewhere down the line for whatever, microphones, mixer, speakers. I prioritize the lifespan of those things throughout the years. And so we don't purchase everything all at once because we're not that kind of church. But with a designated budget, we purchase what we need first. And so for the next coming up year, I should have a vision, an idea of what I need. And so I submit that to the church and the board. And so when they approve of it, that's what we get. And so, we don't ever get everything all at once, but I think it's important to plan years in advance. Okay, we need this next year, and the following years we can wait to get these few things. And so that's how we operate.
Joe, I understand that we just recently make some small purchases here at the district to run our conferences in the summer. What are some of the stuff that we just purchased recently to help us upgrade our sound productions to another level?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things, but I think one thing we, just got was our Dante card for our D-Live mixer. The Dante system is something we're still trying to learn, but it's in our hands now, and we can't wait to try it out for the next upcoming conferences.
Yeah, so at the Hmong district here, Joe and I, we don't have the luxury of all the money that we can spend. Dexcom does allocate some funds for us to make the necessary purchase of sound equipment to help us improve our sound production at the annual conference. And each year, prior to the event, Jerry and I will also be in communications with Peter and consult them just to have an idea of what we are going to be using each year for our conferences. And so we'll make purchases here and there, but same thing like the local church. We are nonprofit, we're Christian organizations, and so we don't spend money in the ways that is not helpful or it's not being good stewardship for all the money that we got from the local churches. And so thankful that we at the moment have what we need to run conferences right now, and we will continue to evaluate and make purchases as necessary to improve sound production for Hmong districts annual conference and other youth conference in the summer. The next question I have for you guys is share a little bit about some of the, I would say, essential equipment that you guys use at your local church. Soundboard, speaker systems, any other system that you guys use that can be beneficial to other local churches who may be looking forward to making purchases in the future.
Yeah, so at Hmong American Alliance Church, for a sound system, we run a Allen and Heath D-Live system, which is similar to what HCAM has. Yeah, I mean it's a big system, right? But we have a lot of inputs, and we do a lot of processing. So having those capabilities to get rid of effects racks and stuff like that, and just have a unit to run onboard processing helps a lot with how we can do, how we can simplify and streamline our process without having too much gear to maintain. So we run that. It is digital, right? I know there's been a huge move from analog to digital over the past few years here. And it is challenging from a training perspective. A lot of people walk by and they see it and they get intimidated, right? And it is challenging from that perspective. But when you do find your folks who are willing to learn, and they're willing to understand how to do it well and how to do it from a service perspective for the Lord, and not just because we like it or we want to do it a certain way, then it does become really rewarding. But yeah, so sound system board, we run D-Live system. For speakers, we run an RFC array, similar to what Hmong District has too. Recently, just Dante was on back order for a long time, so we got our Dante card too. And so we're still in process of getting all of that set up, and that's going to help streamline our ability to send signals inputs either straight to a DAW for recording, and then remastering, mixing, mastering for live stream, or for any other purposes. And so we're excited to get that going too. But other than that, mics, in terms of like music gear, equipment, when we have a drum set and a piano that we provide, everybody else brings their own stuff like guitars, basses, and stuff like that. 1/4-inch cables. But in terms of the basic infrastructure of a system, like that's what we run. And our emphasis is on quality, and so we do save up to buy the more expensive stuff because we know overall it's gonna last longer, and the overall quality of the equipment that we're using is going to be a lot better, a lot more reliable. And so that is something that we also do consider as we plan out and budget for equipment.
So we run Behringer X32 Compact. That thing has been serving us for the past 10 years, and no issues. And so, I just have to update the X-Live USB card. But other than that, that thing's been solid.
That one is, the board is digital, right?
Yeah, digital board, X32 Compact. And so it was a game changer when we finally switched from analog. And so we've been running that for a few years now, paired with S16 and SD8 digital snake. And then we run 2 subs. So our speaker setup is this was a span of a few years. Okay, so we didn't get all this speaker and stuff at the same time. So we're utilizing a variety of brands right now. So for example, we have a Behringer sub and I forget the other one. But then we run. We don't have arrays, but we were able to mount 2 Bose F1s and 2 QSE K12s. I was going to show you a picture, but OBS isn't working. And so those are mounted on our I-beam that supports the structure of the church, right? And so because our church isn't so tall, we don't have issues with coverage. And so we mount those, and then we have 2 Yamahas 10-inch just to fill the back, and then we run just Shure wireless mics, the handheld wireless ones, and 2 of the lavaliers. And once again, these were all purchased in increments, and a lot of them were actually donated to us. So our church is very grateful for all of our donators. Yeah.
For us, we have our mixer. We have an Allen and Heath SQ7, and our speakers. We have the Bose, the older generation Bose L1 towers, which are line arrays towers that stand up vertically. And just like Yengshai in Merced, over the years, there's been a variety of speakers that just come into the church. And so for actually, ever since I've become worship pastor here at Sacramento Hmong Alliance, I have not purchased any speakers because of our space, right? Because of our space that we have here, it's more like a basketball gym. Our stage is, and how we view from the stage is very wide, and from the stage to the back of the room is it's not that far. And so depending on our space, like speaker selections were, they were not, what we have is good. And so what I saw that there was no need to purchase any other equipment such as new speakers, because what we have was fine, as long as we had side fills and those towers were okay. The balance of the tonality of those speakers were fine, and our space is not very big, and so we weren't needing any extra power or bass or anything. And so that's what we have. On an average, our congregation is about 200 to 300 in our, I like to call it our gym. Right? It's like a basketball gym. And so I always want to accommodate the space and the amount of people that sit in the space. And so I don't want to overkill or buy things that are too loud, too powerful, but we don't use it to its full potential. And so I've always thought that what we have is fine, unless in the next few years its lifespan it shows that it's dying on us, then we'll upgrade. But for right now, that's what we have.
Joe, you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, a lot of what we use here at District, there's a lot of things that Peter and them use. The D-Live board with the Dante system, and as well as the RCF line arrays. So, pretty much just that.
Yeah, we noticed that sometimes we go to different venues, that sound system may be sufficient, sometimes it may not be sufficient. We have to rent additional speaker systems to supplement what we have, so that we can send sounds to the different angles and different floors that we have audiences sitting there. And so From what I'm hearing from you guys, it sounds like we may not need the most expensive equipment. Our equipment has to be determined by our needs and determined by our worship space. So some smaller churches, they may not need all the equipment that Hmong American Alliance Church has. Maybe a smaller digital mixer might be sufficient for a smaller church in a smaller space. Tell us a little bit about some tricks you have done at the local church, at your church, to help improve live streaming sound.
Yeah, I can start. So live streaming it's tricky, right? It's tricky because of the just the setup, and then the equipment that you have too, right? Like you can't just send your master's level from your board to a Blackmagic device or something, and have that output 1-to-1 from into your live stream, right? So what we do at our church is, based on our board has the ability to do multiple mixes. So we do a separate mix for our live stream apart from our house mix, which makes it a little bit difficult because again, you're limited on equipment, and you're having one person do two mixes, right? They're accounting for the house mix, and they're also listening and accounting for the live mix. But it's a more cost-friendly option, right? If you have a digital board that can do a separate mix, you can then create a separate mix that, and send it to your live stream. What I like to do for the live stream aux is I like to set a compressor or limiter on it, which just helps with the overall balance of the level that's going out, to make sure that we're not going to clip, or that we're not going to have levels that are just too low. And so by adding a compressor or limiter to that aux channel helps with managing that. And so but yeah, I mean, getting good EQs on your lines for your instrumentation and your mics is also really helpful, because that's going to translate to an overall better mix. But the tricky thing about that is, again, what you hear in a live setting is not always going to translate 1-to-1. And so because we are mixing in one space, like headphones, in-ears are really helpful for mixing versus using headphones to mix, just to get rid of bleed, and have a little bit better isolation of the things that you're hearing come through. But I mean, at the end of the day, if we can get a good mix out with good levels, we're 90% of the way there, right? The other 10% is just the extra to really polish it up, right? But when you think of the value of live streaming, what it's intended to do, the value has been met. And so we're investing in Dante. We're looking at how we can improve our stream quality. But again, what's hard with that is the amount of people who are willing to volunteer and really learn the craft. And right, we can go out and get all the gear and not have people to help run, and we still have an issue, right? And so it's being intentional and thinking and strategizing, like, what do we have, what do we need to do, and how are we doing it, and are we able to do that well from a value perspective?
So we mix our live stream using a DAW, or I use Logic Pro to mix it separately. We used to do it off of the board, but it just didn't sound good. And so we only run the master so that's a backup. If nothing else works, then we run the master, right? And so I have the DAW setup, or Logic Pro setup, where every channel has its own, and you can EQ it separately and just make it sound really good. And so I'm still learning how to do all that just to get a good mix, with drums, guitar, a good balance of the vocals and all that. And so this past Sunday was pretty good. I liked how the drums sounded, had a really good thump and kick. The bass sounded good. Usually those don't really, those you can't really hear those, but this time I was able to balance them out. So I was really happy about that. But yeah, so you mix it separately. Don't run it off the master.
Yeah, same with Yengshai. We use a digital audio workstation, and we use which we use is a Logic Pro. And so what I like about our mixer is we go USB directly from my mixer to our laptop, and then send that audio back to our mixer and into our video switcher. And so we don't actually need a separate mixer for our live stream. We just use our software on our program on our computer. And a big tip is have a designated person. Train somebody. Find somebody who's at least a little bit interested, and train them, because the in-house mix is completely different from the live stream mix. And so we used to have one person do both. And so one person would mix the front of house for the church inside the in-house mix, and then he would also hop on the auxiliary going out to the live stream, and he would mix that, just adjusting audio volume levels, right? But ever since we updated to a new mixer, we're able to have two separate mixes, and have a person just for the in-house mix and a person for the live stream mix. And so looking at those two different platforms as two separate places, two separate mixes, and it's good to have a separate person just for the live stream mix. And what also really helped us, I heard one feedback from our congregation member. They said, "Oh, we can hear the church people sing online. That's cool." And all we do is we place a crowd mic that captures the voice of the church, and you just don't hear the worship leader sing, but you hear the church sing as well. And that's a small thing that you can do as a sound engineer to encourage your online viewers. Is just to put a crowd mic and point it to the church, and they're like, "Oh, I hear the people singing. I'm worshiping with my church," and it's very encouraging. So maybe that can be just a small tip for live stream sound engineers.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Sure. Anything to add to that?
Pretty much echo everyone. For us, at least this year, we ran snake splitters. So one snake to the D Live, to the main house, and then one snake into a Behringer X32 into the laptop, and then ran Logic Pro off the laptop. And we just ran a bunch of plugins on there too. It's always, running plugins always makes it sound a lot better, so mainly just an EQ and a compressor. Pretty simple with that. But yeah, my favorite little trick is the drum triggers. Being a drummer, it's cheating, right? If your drum doesn't sound good, or if the room just doesn't sound good for the drums, then run drum triggers. To basically explain it, is when you hit the drum, it doesn't play the live drum sound, but it plays the studio recording of a drum. So you get more tone, you get more the thickness of the drum. But that's my favorite little trick. It's hard to explain in a minute, but drum triggers, I love it. Yeah.
Well, last questions for everybody. What are some of the most challenging things you faced being a sound tech or worship leader at the local church? And what can the church do to help you going forward so that it makes your job easier, or it can help you to improve sound system, sound production better, and it help you to be able to recruit more people to help your ministry in the local church? what can leadership at the local church help you in this regard, and with all the challenges that you guys face doing sound production at the local church?
Everyone's gonna have a preference. It's gonna be too loud for some. It's not gonna be loud enough for some. People are gonna want to hear certain things in the mixes. So you're gonna get a lot of feedback. It's learning to take those feedback in and say, yep, thank you for the feedback. But also, as you develop your team and you develop the vision for sound and how it operates, right? Like I saw a funny video a few weeks ago where they're like, should every church have a decibel meter and run everything at like 90, 95 dBs, right? Like 90, 95 dBs is loud.
Yeah.
It's loud, right? So imagine running 90, 95 dBs in a small church. It's loud, right? And someone gave a perspective of like, hey, like, can you hear the people around you, right? If you can't hear the people around you, it's probably too loud. So, just learning how to, don't get discouraged by the feedback that you hear. I think a lot of it is, aiding the growing process, and, as we continue to learn how to run sound well. So that's maybe the first one. Second one, help volunteers. It's always a challenge. Sound is not a thing where you hop in one year and then you're out the next year, and then right, it's we call it at Hack, we say once you're in sound, your term is for life. Because you come and we train you, and we want you to stay, right? Because it's very different from any of the other ministries. It's very technical. You have to have a technical aptitude to really be able to understand some of the logistics of how, like, the just the basics of like how sound works, right? Like what does signal flow look like, and how do you troubleshoot when something doesn't work, right? Those things are very technical, and so getting people into the ministry and sustaining has been challenging. Some folks come in and it just gets really overwhelming, right? And so how we try to mitigate that is we try to streamline our process flow, in terms of how we set up the board and how we run, so that it really limits it to just, hey, if you're running sound, then like here are the 12 channels that you're worried about, and that's it. You don't have to worry about anything else because it's already been set up. And so that has helped with helping onboard people, but it's always going to challenge. I being at a church our size, you would think that there's people who are readily available and wanting to do it, but because of the nature of the requirements, it is really hard. And I don't know. I think we can, leaders and pastors can help continue to advocate for it. But I think there's also a lot of grace that needs to be had, right? Knowing that this is a very technical area of ministry, and we're gonna be faced with challenges all the time, right? But it's being able to look past the technical difficulties and say, yeah, it's okay, right? It's okay if there was a little feedback, right? For me, right? How do we get past that, right? From a ministry perspective, right? And have grace so that people are not discouraged. And so, I think if we can continue to just socialize the grace, and then advocate for the ministry, I think that'll be really helpful.
Yeah, just tagging on top of that, volunteers. Yeah, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he's a one-man team, and so it's extremely tough on him. And so so if you have an aptitude for technology, I mean, even if you don't, and you still want to serve, and this maybe this is the only position that's available. Or there's always positions available with media and sound, right? And so we can train you. We can train you and get you up and going pretty quick. I have an 11-year-old pre-youth that I can trust during service, and so it didn't take long for us to train him. And so, and my, praise God, we have a team of 5 to 7, and so I can really trust my team to be there whenever I'm not. And so this is a very much needed. This ministry really needs a lot of volunteers. And another thing, when sound doesn't work during service, just don't look back. It scares us. We don't.
I agree with that. The death look, I hate that too.
What's going on, right?
Yeah.
Just like everyone else, the toughest challenge is finding committed people to just learn the process. And I think it's not the training part. I think there's so many free resources out there nowadays, especially on YouTube. You can just YouTube the mixer that you have at your church and have tutorial on it, and you can learn. You can self-train. I don't think it's the training aspect. I think it's the commitment aspect, is finding people to show up early, set up and stay after and tear down, right? And so there's a lot of commitment there, and there's a lot of learning that has to be done too, right? It's like learning a guitar. If we were to just learn a guitar once a week, we would not master the guitar within a month or a year's time frame. Sound mixing just doesn't just happen on Sunday. So I'd encourage all of my sound mixers, media team, hey, listen to podcasts or YouTube links. Look at YouTube links throughout the week. You can come to the church anytime and learn, sit on it, mix and move around, experiment, so that you can learn. On Sunday during service, that's not the time to learn. That's the time to serve and master what you need to know already. And so, the toughest part is finding personnel, committed people to serve, and some other challenges are last minute requests, like preachers giving you last minute USB sticks to play, or videos to play, or music to play. And we're about to start service in about 2 minutes. And so, ministry leaders, plan ahead and build relationship with your tech teams. We're all serving the Lord together. And so plan ahead, communicate, because there's a lot of pressure to the media personnel and the tech team when it's very last minute. We need to run things. And so, plan ahead. And one last thing for any church is, and the media team, be one with your worship band. Okay, you guys are one team. Don't be two separate teams. Sometimes I've seen before is there's the band and then there's the mixing, and they don't have a relationship, right? But we need to have that relationship where we can communicate what our needs are to one another, and we have this relationship where we can critique one another, so that just makes the the church flow much better, the ministry much stronger, and we can serve the people much better. And so I don't ever consider the media team or sound ministry as a separate ministry from the worship ministry. It's all leading people to worship the Lord together. And so, look at your job as sound engineer as a worship leader position, because you're leading people to worship the Lord. And so,
I mean, you all pretty much hit the nail on the head. With the death look, and then with me, with turning in your slides and your special songs on time, right? One thing for me though is appreciate your sound techs. My theory, because you look at worship teams, there are a ton of people on worship teams because they get appreciated. You don't have a lot of volunteers on the sound team because they don't really get that appreciated. Because you look at Sunday, if you're on stage, people go up to you like, "Hey, thank you so much for leading. You did such a good job." And then they walk past the sound booth. They don't say anything to anyone in the sound booth, So congregations, pastors, appreciate your sound guys. They're the first ones there and the last ones to leave. So everyone, appreciate your sound techs. And that way, that's how you get more volunteers. People want to be appreciated, for the hard work they do. So, but yeah, you guys, thank you so much for your time. You guys did such a great job. Thank you so much for spreading your knowledge and your experience, your wisdom, for us to hear and for everyone around the world to hear. So, appreciate your time, and you guys have a good night.
Sẽ được cho lên số tù và thiết chia sẻ để khó bé là một sĩ cho thả nó nói yếu uo cho bé mua cho cái trà xanh là có bé tao giờ đùa cho cái hạt tiệp bé yếu ilu ati từ mua trà bệnh sử yếu mua cho là một chọn câu mua cho là một run test system nó behind the scene có để hậu luyện để tiệt rồi bé này họ chỉnh chỉnh lịch trả thế nhiều lịch trả sử cả bé thế là bao chơi là lúc đào lúc rồi tao rồi này cho thơ cho nhau rồi bên trên này bỏ tiệt bé cần bên trên mà thầu cho xiong mà bé nhận thiệt cho tin nên là một uo cho hậu lửa nằm mà nhưng thiệt nhiều cơ bé nhưng chỉ bỏ cá yếu thiệt cho từ là một uo để hậu lửa nóแต่是chiaเขาnói vớiเขาก็bé họ bao cho thế bé thế bao chơi lỡ ba lỡก็ตอนเด่นmột bé họ sẽ xí cho lúa lên từ là một ba rồi tới để tiền nó làก็bé thế li chi tàu lỡ thế xí tàu lỡ là một trâu để hậu lửa rồi nó tháo vào chú phòng có muốn trong này sẽ được xuống số tù bé mà li xin chỉ đua đầu lửa rồi.
HGM TV tiếp vào chỉ tao chế mùa bước sân yon chế có sở trò HGM TV tiếp